Okay, what's up, guys? So, today, I'm going to talk to you guys about getting your motorcycle license and what some people might tell you, what a lot of people won't tell you, and some stuff that I would have appreciated knowing kind of a little earlier on before I started my adventure into biking. So, first thing, to get your motorcycle license, just like a car license, you have your three different classes. You have your M1, M2, and full M. Right now, I am on my M2, and you have 5 years to complete all three courses. But there's a bunch of little bullshit that you got to deal with before then. And just for, I'm in Ontario, Canada. This might be different whatever province you live in, or if you're in the States, I'm pretty sure state to state, there's a lot of stuff that is state specific, and that everything that I might be telling you might be completely different where you are. But the first thing you have to do in order to get your M1 is you got to do a written test at your local drive test center, just like you would if you were going to get a car. Now, the difference between a motorcycle written test and a car written test is that the motorcycle written test, you got to do, I think, like the test is 60 questions, I believe, and I should know this, I only did it a couple months ago. But 40 of the questions are just general rules of the road. So basically, your G1 test. Just all the questions are exactly the same, like you're going to get your driver's license again. And then there are 20 motorcycle-specific questions that you need to answer. And I believe out of each group, like out of the 40 and out of the 20, you can only get 4 wrong for each of them in order to pass the test. I've never been book smart, so I kind of stressed over it, but I mean, I think out of all 60 questions, I got 1 wrong, and it was a weird, what does this construction sign mean? Like something that you'll never actually see on the road. So after that, you have your G1, and you are a licensed motorcycle driver or pilot or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and if you can get yourself a bike, you can legally ride one on the roads, only between daylight hours, I think half hour after sunset and half hour before sunrise, not at night, and not on any 400 series or high-speed highways. So, in theory, that sounds great. I think like the test is $25 too, but the problem is, in Ontario, a lot of insurance companies won't touch you if you are a G1 motorcyclist. That I called a bunch of companies when I was doing this, and a bunch of them didn't want to deal with me with a with an M1. And the one company, I think it was Allstate, that said that, yeah, sure, we'll insure you with a G1, and it was like $5,000 for the year. And the first thing that went into my mind was, oh fuck, like, after doing all, after studying, I'm not going to be able to afford my insurance. And I was kind of bummed out about it, and it kind of went through my head that maybe I should call it quits now. I'm only out $25 for the written test and whatever it cost me to buy the books. And I do recommend, if you're doing the written, buy the motorcycle handbook and also the sample question guide. Because the question guide will help you way more than the reading the book itself. Yeah. So I thought I was done, and I kind of wasted my time because I wouldn't be able to afford my insurance. But then when I was calling around to a bunch of insurance companies, I came across, I think it was either the insurance company or when I was talking to somebody about booking my my learning course to upgrade to my M2. It was either those guys or an insurance company, but they told me that a lot of places, or a lot of insurance companies, if you complete your M2 road course, or like the on-bike course, a lot of insurance companies, even if you're still under your M1, they'll insure you like you have an M2 because you've completed it and you've had all the training and you're trusted to know what you're doing on a bike. So after that, I called around again, and some companies still want you to actually have the M2 license class, but a lot of them will recognize that you've completed the course, and even if you have your M1, they'll insure you as if you're an M2 licensed driver. So the reason for that is in Ontario, there's a 60-day waiting period between when you can get your M1 and upgrade to your M2 license. So what I did was I did my written, and then as soon as I did my written, I went and found a M2, great, use your fucking signal, buddy. I went and found a M2 course, and I did it with Learning Curves in North York or North Toronto. Super friendly and very informative people. And I kind of lucked out with that course because the way my work schedule is, and I'm sure some of you will figure out sooner or later, I'm a musician. And weekends are normally when the courses are held, and weekends are kind of like my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those are the days that I have a majority of my work. So the big thing for me was trying to find a midweek course, and luckily enough they had one, and I took it. And you can take that with your M1. The only thing is that like once you complete it, you gotta wait 60 days before you can upgrade to your M2. But the other catch that the government tries to fuck you with is if you don't upgrade to your M2 within 120 days, I believe, you end up losing it and have to go back and rewrite it, which I think is absolute bullshit, and is the biggest fucking, it's all money grabs. But besides that, so that's why, like, I'd recommend that if you want to get your motorcycle's license, do your written, book your M2 course as close to the date that you got your M1 permit as you can, just to get that all out of the way, and that way you don't have to worry about anything. So I took the course. I'd recommend if you're in Ontario, the company that I took it with, Learning Curves, has I think like 40 locations across Ontario. Super nice guys. Great course, and I lucked out with the course because because I chose like the midweek one. I think it was like a Monday, Tuesday on the bike, and there's like a one-day in class where you just kind of talk about the rules of the road, and if you have any gear questions or questions about bikes, they're more than happy to answer it. And it's just kind of like a big motorcycle hang, which was nice. But I lucked out that normally the courses, they said some of them, like the weekend courses, can have up to 30 people in a group, which I think would be just fucking terrifying and just awful with a bunch of people that don't know how to ride or riding for the first time. But I lucked out, and there were 4 of us in our group, and we all could ride pretty well. That I think I was the only one that had any sort of prior experience on a motorcycle. And like when I say prior, I mean I had a dirt bike when I was like 13 that I kind of just ripped around my neighborhood in. But even with that experience, I learned a lot. That there's a lot more that goes into riding a motorcycle and riding a dirt bike, and not even like just being on the road, but just a lot of little mechanical things. That the course was really, really good, and I recommend it. And it's super easy to pass. And once you pass the course, I went and I was able to go get insured and to register my bike that I'm on right now. And this is a 2017 YZF Yamaha R3 with ABS. Now, this is where everything kind of gets back into like insurance. That insurance, when you're getting your motorcycle license and getting on your bike, that was what played the biggest role for me as to what size bike I got, what kind of bike I got, and pretty much what sort of structured whether or not, like, could I financially do this. That it's been something I've talked about doing now for I think the last 2 years or so, and I finally pulled the trigger and did it. And something I forgot to say too is make sure you put thought into this. And I'm not saying this just to be like fucking naggy old dude. I'm in my mid-20s, so if you think I'm a naggy old dude, go fuck yourself. Because I'm young too, it wasn't like just a decision for me too, that like I'm close to my parents still, and they had a big say in it. That my dad was cool with it. And now I'm trying to actually get him into riding, get him to grab his license. My mom wasn't so cool with it. Like, I think that's why it took me so long to do it too. But I eventually convinced both of them, and like, I'm a responsible kid or young adult, for lack of better words. And they trusted me, and I did this I did this all on my own with no financial support from them. And the reason why I backtracked there for a second was because make sure this is something you want to do before you go and do your M1 course. Because in order to take the M1 course, you have to provide your own equipment for it. They provide the bike, which is good because me being the most experienced one, I almost dumped a bike during the course, and it was just slow maneuvers, and the bike stalled out on me, and I almost downsided it. But I caught it. But they provide the bike, which is good. That way, if anything happens, none of it's your fault. They take care of any of those expenses. But sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. But the reason why I'm saying make sure you want to do this is because you're going to have to provide your own gear for this course, which means jacket, gloves, and helmet. And in total, I went on the cheap for it. I kind of had a budget in mind. I think my budget was around like $600-700. I came in under that, thankfully, at $500. But now, in retrospect, I should have definitely spent more money on my helmet. And I'm not saying that my helmet's bad. It's DOT and ECE approved. It's not Snell. But I think the minimum requirement for the course is that you have a DOT approved helmet. And the one thing I realized is that the more expensive helmets, the airflow and venting of them are much better than the cheaper ones. And that's the one spot that I cheaped out on. But definitely, put money into your gear, because you're going to be using it a lot. That being said, so now between your written test, buying your gear, and actually paying for the course, you're in now. I think the course was about $500. Spent $500 on my gear, and then it was another the books and the written test were like probably another $50. So I'm almost at, let's round it up, I'm almost at $1,100, and I don't even have my license yet, or don't even know if I'm gonna have my license if you pass or if you don't pass the course. But that's what I'm saying, like, out of the gate, not having a motorcycle, not being insured. Yeah, I see you, don't fucking wave at me, buddy, in a smart car. Not being insured, you're already kind of in the hole for $1,100, if you don't know if this is actually gonna be for you or not. So that's why, make sure you wanna do this. So, once I completed the course, did all that good stuff, I got my insurance, and in Ontario, you need to be insured before you can register a motorcycle or buy a motorcycle. Unless you buy it used. I think if you buy it used, you can buy the motorcycle used, but have the motorcycle in your possession, but it's not registered to you yet. But I bought mine from a dealer new. So what I need to do is I need to get insurance, and the insurance, I called around, and the best price that I was able to get from me as a new rider, I was paying $2,200. I think it was just over $2,230 or something for the year. And in Ontario, you have to insure a motorcycle all year round, even though you're going to be riding it for 5, maybe 6 months out of the year if you're lucky. And if you think, well, you know what, I'm gonna pay the insurance, then I'm just gonna cancel before before that year's up. Don't do that, and you won't be able to do that for a couple of reasons. One, if you do that, if you ever try to get insured again, you're going to be fucked because nobody's going to want to touch you. And the company that I'm with, Riders Plus, super great guys. They walked me through all of it. This is the first time I kind of had to deal with this on my own. They take the payments out all between the 5 months of the riding season. So I think realistically how it broke down is I'm paying $190 for being insured for 12 months of the year, but they took out $393 over a 5-month period during the summer. So I'm paid off at the end of this month, which is October, but I can ride my bike, all through winter technically because I'm insured and it's insured. And also at the start of the season next year in April, I'm hoping to start up again. I'm insured up until I think the end of May or early June. So that's something I didn't know about. So right there, that's another way the insurance companies try to screw you. Now the last thing was the price of the insurance also dictated what kind of bike I got. That I couldn't get a big bike. I stuck my looking and what was in my budget for insurance because that's a annual cost. I stuck to the 300s. That this is a 300cc, 320cc bike. Now, I could afford, as a one-time fee, to go buy a bigger bike if I want to. No way in hell I'd be able to afford the insurance. Get off my ass. Fucker. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of a lot of the stuff that I wish I would have known going into this. So I hope some of this helped you. If you have any questions, leave a like, drop a comment below, and I'll see you during the next video.